Hello everyone and welcome to our Circle and Salve Women. Today I'm in my comfy clothes because I am in my winter holiday break, and definitely, as we know, teachers will snap right back into our role as soon as we see our students come in, but until then I'm definitely taking in some rest as much as I can. So for today I am going to recite my acrostic poem to you that I have written in my article, Happy New Year. My best way, believe it or not, to find comfort and just creating myself limitations so that I make it more fluid in my heart and just being real of how I want to express myself in, once again, always trying to empower you, trying to inspire you, trying to just continue to give you whatever light you need so that you can move forward better, stronger, and brighter. The very first letter is H, and that is to heal from your wounds. And take it in. You know, we know pain is real. I really had to come to terms with that. And sometimes tell yourself it is okay to submerge yourself in that moment of reflecting as to why you are hurting. And then say to yourself, how long will this take before I realize there's nothing that I can do just sitting here being in pain? And so rise from it, heal from it, and put pressure on those deep cuts, you know, the ones that are bleeding hard and that you're thinking will not ever stop. Just put pressure on it and just keep going and move forward, and the bleeding will stop and you will heal from the wounds and you will continue forward, and because there's so much more of you to journey and to realize and to discover. So know that the world is waiting for you, so you can only continue on having healed from whatever has cut you in the past. And therefore you'll be ready and stronger for tomorrow. The next one is A, and that is another moment awaits. And so it really goes from heal from your wounds, because you have to understand that, yeah, you could, you know, sit in bed, you can lie on the couch, you could watch TV or whatever it is that you want to just allow yourself to let the world pass you by and think you know, that there's no matter in you. And yes, there is. Scientifically, you are a matter that takes up the space in this world, and yet there's so much of you that the world awaits to see. And you don't owe anyone anything, but you do owe yourself to go, oh, hold on, there's so much of me that I need to discover and I need to know about. And so I have to make those moments. And you're going to, as we've done in the past, reflect on those moments. So what kind of moments are you going to make for 2022? And so just understand that those moments are waiting for you. The next one is P, place your priorities right. It's okay to get sidetracked. It's okay to derail. It's okay to say to yourself, okay, maybe I thought these were my priorities, and then realizing that you had to readjust, reorganize, restructure. And then the beauty about that is then knowing what is really your true priority. And, you know, there's always that readjustment where you keep going, hold on, am I still sticking to my priorities? And so it's okay to sometimes pause, but again, making sure that you're placing your priorities always first and saying to yourself, am I following those through? Next one is another P. Please don't give yourself excuses. Again, being human, we do, and we give ourselves excuses because sometimes it is tiring to look too forward. I was just taking a walk with my two younger ones in the snow, and one of my children was walking with me saying they were getting tired, and I said to themselves, here's a mind trick. Don't look so far ahead. Tell yourself every step you take, you're going to give your best step every time. And believe it or not, it worked for him as it's always worked for me. Sometimes we look too ahead. We start to fear. We start to really think to ourselves, oh my goodness, that's just such a long walk. Take one step at a time and give it your best every step you take. And don't give yourself excuses to say that you won't get it done, because every step counts. And so you just keep moving forward. And again, those excuses are going to hold you back from finishing. Don't give yourself any excuses. Just keep going. The next one is Y, the letter Y, and that is years go by and there's no going back. This is important for you to understand because we forget that, you know, there's that word or that phrase, no regrets. And, you know, it's, again, we can say, okay, I can look back and go, I maybe should have done that better and I could have handled that better. Okay. But at the same time, the years have gone by and there are so many more years to still apply yourself to. And so think about it in that manner and tell yourself, okay, the years that have gone by are done. I can't do anything about those anymore. You have no means to return, and even Pet Cemetery, right? Like the soul goes away and you can never bring it exactly back. If you've seen the movie Time Machine, there's just certain things like fate that happen in life, and then you just say to yourself, okay, what moments am I going to then create in the future or the near future, because I cannot pull back and take those years back that I have already spent. So please remember that. So there's your happy. The next one is N, and for N, it is never underestimate you, the very becoming you, who you were, who you are today, who you will be tomorrow. Just know that you are better tomorrow than you are today. You have to tell yourself that, because here's the deal. We are about growth. We are about progress. We are about moving forward. And so you have to tell yourself that, you know, pencils have erasers, and you say to yourself, okay, you can't really take back anything, but every moment that you take, you go, hold on, how can I make improvements? How can I finalize my chapters so that when it comes to the final publishing, at the very end of it all, and the book closes, you know, and then you're like, okay, it's done, or what, you know, your first manuscript, and that you're going to send it through, and all of a sudden you're ready for it to print. How are those words going to formulate in the journey that you're taking, or the very you that you are becoming? And so just remember that, is that never underestimate the becoming of you, because here's the deal. If you hold yourself back, there's nothing that anyone else can do. You're the only person who's shackling yourself down. So release yourself and just tell yourself, okay, wow, you know, I never knew I could have that mindset, and push yourself to that mindset, because you'd be very surprised if you haven't already come to many surprises of the very you that you are able to become. Next one is E, and that is everything has had a purpose. I realize this, you know, no pain, no gain, and whatever happens, happens for a reason. I truly believe that. Whether I'm going to the grocery store and I run into someone and they enlighten me, or I enlighten them, there is this reciprocated coactivity, you know, something that happens where you are exchanging wisdom with each other. And it's different from when you're teaching in a classroom and you're taking notes and you're hearing it. It's always what's in between the lines, right? Those reflective moments to go, hold on, how can I think outside of the box and make this a connection to something else that will help me grow, will help me understand the world better. And so that's how life is. It's like literally everything is a lesson. And so you have to remember that even though those moments that you felt like you failed or that you didn't succeed, there's a difference there, right? You have to say to yourself, what could I learn from that? And then how am I going to move from it and move away from it, or move forward from it, so that you are stronger, better, and brighter from it all. So always tell yourself that everything has had a purpose in your life so that you could do it better the next time. W, wondering the ifs are no more. And so let me restate that, or let me say that again. Wondering about the ifs are no more. And again, you really have to stop wasting so much time. And, you know, being human, it's so hard, because you say to yourself, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? And sometimes we tend to then focus on what's pulling us back instead of us moving forward. And so in my article, I say to myself, well, hold on. Okay. If I'm always thinking about You know, what if I fail? Well, think to yourself, what if you succeed? And I love that saying, you know, just taking that risk. And so you can't, all that what ifs that you're taking time to push yourself back or pull yourself back, you have to focus on the what ifs that are pushing you forward. Because otherwise you're going to be like many, many people that will have years, if not decades, or maybe a lifetime of just looking back and going, I spent too much on the what ifs instead of just, what if, you know, I just move forward and just continue forward and continue forward and continue forward. And even if I step back, what if I take 2 steps forward, you know, so that you're always ahead. So those what ifs, don't let those haunt you. Let them go. If they're negative, make sure that they're positive what ifs, because then you can go, hold on, what if I do succeed? What if I do get there? What if there's something so much more? And, you know, I'd like to think that there always is. Last part is going to be the year part, and that is the why. You are who you are, and who you were and who you will be different. So embrace that and know that there's so much of yourself that you have to forgive, and yet at the same time give yourself no excuses to back down from the best of you. Just know you are doing this because you have to reach your highest capability, and you have to tell yourself you're not your parent, you're not your friend, you're not your coworker. You are who you are. And doesn't mean that you practice being dark or being vain or being rude. And we all want to be better. So think about it and give yourself that space, that permission to go, I am still looking for me. I am who I am. And know that it is okay to get to that you in whatever journey, whatever path it takes, and then just have fun with the workout. There's going to be some sweat. There's going to be some blood, perhaps, you know. I mean, it's just, there's just going to be some blood, sweat in there. And just know that the harder you work, then the journey becomes deeper and more meaningful. So, not that you have to go through a pain. You don't have to be dramatic about it, but just know that you're strong to overcome anything to get to the very best you that is out there waiting. The next one is E. Each time you fall back, take 2 steps forward. And I believe I mentioned this just a few minutes back. I always say to myself, you know, okay, I fell back, but I took already 2 steps forward. You got to be ahead of the game. So in that way, there's never going to be that chance where you feel like, man, I'm so behind. You've got to prepare yourself for that moment where you are going to take a step back and go, okay, falling back, but I took 2 steps forward, so I'm really a lot more ahead than I think. And so it's this preparedness in you to know and anticipate that, yeah, there are going to be some times where you end up stumbling, but that's okay. You know, and you're taking 2 steps forward. So it's okay, because no matter what, if you give it your all and you're pushing forward and pushing forward, you're always going to be going forward instead of falling so behind or so back there from who you were. That's not who you are anymore. You keep pushing forward, take 2 steps forward, take 2 steps forward, take 2 steps forward. And no matter what, even if you fall back, you're okay. Next one is A. Always understand tomorrow is unpredictable. I love that, you know, you can plan a perfect picnic, but you can't predict the weather. Goodness, I hope I said that right. But really, really understand that it is not a bad thing to plan. It is not a bad thing to take action in your planning and saying to yourself, okay, then I have a, I have a plan for the next step and the next step and the next step and the next step. And as you really formulate, I mean, for me, honestly, if they were to say, okay, you don't have school, you have to take it from this perspective or that perspective, and you have to teach your students this way, you have to plan for that and say to yourself, it's not going to be my students' fault that I end up not being able to be prepared, for them. It's going to be my fault. And it's the same thing for my children. It's the same thing for my spouse. I can't put it on anyone else who interact with me. I have to have that plan of action. And so always understand that tomorrow is unpredictable, but it doesn't mean that you can't prepare for it. It goes along with that taking 2 steps forward. Just know that if you don't have your parachute and, all of a sudden you have to jump off a plane, you have to know also how to pull that ring. There's just so much to prepare for, and you can always think ahead as much as you possibly can. And again, give yourself permission to say, okay, maybe I didn't plan as much, but then have a backup plan for how you're going to feel about that, how you're going to handle that. Because the more prepared you are in your mind, your heart, and your spirit, the more ready you are to rise from it all and then keep moving forward. The next one is, of course, the R, and we have reached the reach word, which is and really reach for your potential and possibilities. And, I'm going to end it at that, because no matter what, if you've been surrounded with always great words and great praise, good for you, but I would like to think that most of us have been surrounded with always voices that have made us doubt. But I realize now, being stronger and better and wiser from it all, that those were all tests to see of how I truly, truly felt about myself and how I really interacted with knowing who I am and what I'm capable of doing, because no one is holding me back. Now, it's real if someone is physically shackling you and tying you down and telling you can't. That is different, but you will fight like crazy to free yourself from it, because you know you are not meant to be tied down. You know that you are meant to really matter in this world. Every one of us have a purpose, and it doesn't matter how small you think it is humongous. It is immense to someone else's life. And so you have to keep on with that potential and understand there's so many possibilities of you. Whether you go to the grocery store and just smile at someone, you made that day for someone and you turned their life around. Or that you have invented something that makes this world a better place. I mean, look at all of these ingenuity that are coming around. And then if you think you could do it better, you probably can. If you're the better basketball player, you probably are. If you're the better singer, you most likely are. It's just that you have to keep going, and it's not going to always happen overnight. Sometimes there are those people who have those magical moments where you're discovered right away, and then you have to handle that, right? Because it is something to prolong of whatever your possibilities are, and it doesn't even end there, okay? You're discovered, then all of a sudden, what more can you give? What more can you enlighten the world with about you? And so I like to think that every moment of our life that you do have your greatest potential and possibilities awaiting. And if you think like you're already great, you already had your best potential, good for you. Keep on with that mentality, and then say to yourself, okay, so what more can you do tomorrow? Because you know what? There's so much more of you to help this world. And so we have to keep telling ourselves that, that lion inside of us that keeps roaring, that it's just not going to go to sleep and never ever rise again tomorrow. It's just going to want to keep going. And so keep going. Have a wonderful year. And it's going to come and go just like we know, and yet make a mark, because you definitely matter. We all matter. No matter what the storms will be, we are going to be our greatest, because we have it in us. Stay strong, mind, heart, and spirit. and do your greatness, and just continue to love you, embrace you. And in the words of my mother, God bless us all. We can all work together to make this a better place. Don't believe the hype, because it is never over until it's over. So let's keep trying. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Have a great year.